Welcome back to Undiagnosed Baddie, your daily 10-minute podcast. We're going old school today. We are definitely going to go, and I'm talking about old school. We're going to go back to the basics of this show where I just sit down, talk to y'all about whatever comes to mind, right? Excuse me. I have been craving Pepsi, so I've got Pepsi in my glass. I really wanted to talk about boundaries a lot of bit. And boundaries when it comes to everybody, and the things. And maybe I've talked about it before, but I really want to get into it real quick, do a quick rant, and we move on from it, or maybe not, because I was gonna say a nigga like me, but a bitch like me, I don't stop talking about it until I'm over it. So let's go ahead and get into it. I had did like this silly little voiceover with TikTok or whatnot, and it was basically stating, "Oh my goodness, it's Mother's Day," and then I was like, "Oh my goodness, like it's Mother's Day. Like I don't like Mother's Day." I really wanted to save like my Mother's Day rant for Mother's Day. So, um, basically, I told people, hey, I understand that it's Mother's Day. I understand that that I'm a mom, but don't tell me Happy Mother's Day. And I'll give a glimpse into the next episode, and it's really about how I feel about Mother's Day and why I feel that way about Mother's Day. But I had somebody in the comments say, I'm still going to text you. And then I had somebody else in the comments say, HMD. And excuse me, guys, I'm so sorry. And I want to say that the HMD, of course, was shorthand for Happy Mother's Day. And they didn't say it on Mother's Day, so they felt that they could say it at the time that I posted that content. But it was just like a forewarning to say, hey, niggas, don't send me nothing. I don't be in the mood, right? I don't want to hear anything. I don't want, like, people put their feelings onto me and say, hey, you're still a mom. And I don't think people really understand where I come from when I talk about the Mother's Day stuff. And I want y'all to tune back in for the Mother's Day episode, so I'm not going to talk too much into that. But the fact that there were people actually in my fucking comments saying, I'm still going to do whatever I want to do, even though you said don't do that. Or the joke of, well, I didn't say it on Sunday. And someone saying, well, I'm still going to do that. And it's just like, y'all wonder why I react the way I do. Y'all wonder why I don't like come around or say certain things or go certain places or be bothered with certain family and or friends across the board, because everybody that certain people that made the comment wasn't friends, certain people that made the comments wasn't family. um and it's just like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? I clearly said, like, before my mom died, I think I announced it a few times, and I was like, don't nobody give a fuck about this shit. Like, that's not the one I care about. I care about my birthday. Like, that's that. I love Valentine's Day. I love Halloween. So top three: my birthday, Halloween, Valentine's Day. And I don't care that it's like, man, everything is man-made when you talk about it, right? So it's just certain demographics that talk about, it's a pagan holiday, it's this or that. And I'm just like, but we do it. And I like it and I love it. And I don't talk about the things that you like and love and celebrate. So let's just let me have what I have. And I tell people that all the time. And I guess because I don't really like, there are times where I definitely curt on motherfuckers. And then there's times where I'll just be like, fucking noted. What else needs to be said? What the fuck else needs to be said? Because I stated a boundary, you crossed the boundary. What else needs to be said? And that also goes with, it gets tricky. It gets really tricky when you begin to like have a relationship with certain people, share your location with certain people, and then people cross boundaries and you don't want them, knowing your location any longer, or maybe they didn't even cross a boundary. Maybe it was just something that just truly turned you off. And I'm not just talking like across the board. right? I hate when I have to add nuance to the conversation. So, and I always say that, but I feel that motherfuckers that watch this shit are just so fucking dumb that you have to add nuance to the conversation. But I'm going to stop doing that because you either fucking get it or you don't, and you'll argue with me in my comments or you won't. And it's just like the boundaries that are set. This is what I said I like and I don't like. And what's so crazy to me, because of my short-term memory, and I tell y'all that all the time, and I don't think a lot of people really realize that, because i I was dating this guy and I asked him a question, and then I guess I had asked him before, and he was like, you asked me that already. And I was like, but I told you I have short-term memory, but don't worry about it, sweetheart. And I opened up my notes in front of him and I took notes and under his contact or whatever. He was like, you're taking notes? Yeah, motherfucker, because you're not gonna have me sitting here looking crazy or get an attitude with me because I ask you. Like, short-term memory, nigga, short-term memory. Like, give it a second to log into the into the Rolodex, into your file, because it's so funny. It's so funny. This is absolutely a episode of Undiagnosed Baddie. Going back to even when I deal with men, and men say, hey, don't you remember when we met? Do you remember when we did this? Do you remember when you took me here, or we went and had this experience together? And I dead ass be like, no, I don't. And the reason why that is because it's for fucking what? Like, that shit was special to you. It wasn't special to me. If it was special to me, you'd still be with me. You'd still be in my life as my partner and us still doing those great things. Why the fuck are you remembering something from 10, 12 years ago? Get the fuck on with your life, right? Whatever. But going back going back to my, those are some of the boundaries too. Like, if I don't feel like it's worth remembering, I'm not gonna remember that shit. That's really just how I feel. And I want people to really start like this. We're in May. We're 5 months in. What are we, 128, 29, 130 days in? I don't know where we are, but we're somewhere in there. And it's just like, moving forward, let's make sure we maintain our boundaries for the remainder of our lives. You have to have clear cut boundaries, especially when it comes to like your sacred places, and where you, throat was getting dry, where you lay your head, where you work, your car, right? And the reason why I say that is because I know people that love having get-togethers, and they invite every person that they know because this is how I would like to do it, and it's big, and it's this and it's that. And it's just like, all of those energies that come into your space with the energies attached to them, that's a lot. When you walk into certain people's houses, you can feel calmness. And when you walk into certain people's house, you can feel chaoticness. And it's all about the boundaries that you set at your doorstep, the intention that you have in your home. And I'm not talking about if it's lived in, I'm not talking about if it's a little messy, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the zen, the aura, the feeling of your home. That's also a boundary. We can be cool, and some people can't ever come to your home. We can be cool, and then it's just like, I can only spend but so much time in here because of the energy that's in your space. Boundaries are what we're talking about. Even with me, I call myself a maximal minimalist. And it's, I love shit. I love to have stuff. I have to have an abundance of things, because you can't just have one camera or one light. You have to have different lights and different cameras because they do different things, right? Okay, boom. But at the same time, I remember when we did my studio tour. If you haven't done a studio tour, go back to the studio tour. It's labeled Studio Tour 1 and then Part 2. And there is a small cabinet here where I have drawers, books, and all kind of things. And it's organized though. Like, there's a lot, but it's organized and there's a place for everything. And sometimes when you go into people's house, they just have shit everywhere. And I'm not talking a mess. I'm like, every counter is packed to the max, and every like seasoning is like everywhere, like on their island or whatever it is. And it's just like, whoo, this is a lot. And it's me. It's not necessarily them, it's me. But what I want y'all to take away from this episode is to make sure that you and state your boundaries, stand by them. Fuck